In the early 1920s, in a small farmhouse in Canada's Quebec province, a very mysterious series of events brought the McDonald family to the breaking point. Unexplained fires drove them from their home. A local newspaper made a lot of money. An opportunist preacher from New England became famous. And that was just the beginning. Tonight, I want to take you on a wild ride that will leave you asking the question, what in the hell just happened? I'm Chris.
And I'm Kathy.
I'm Sean.
And this is Waiter After Dark. So I want to open this episode with a question, and Kathy, I already know your answer, but Sean, do you think you could live off-grid?
I like to think I could live off-grid, but I think it would depend on what live off-grid we're talking about. If we're like no cell phones, no solar panels, none of that stuff, probably not.
Ooh, yeah, in this story, there's none of that. I think I could do it for a month.
Yeah.
But I don't think I could do it long term.
There's only so long you can shit in a hole before you're like, I miss a toilet.
Outhouse, yeah.
Yeah. Kathy?
No.
No.
No. I need electric. I need indoor plumbing. I need to be able to have cellular service.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Fair.
I think those are all, fair commodities
Yeah.
that any person would probably want today.
Yeah.
All right, keep that in mind as we tell tonight's story, guys.
Ooh.
What
okay.
is tonight's story about?
It's about a family who lives off grid and some really strange shit starts to happen.
See, I immediately think anybody who wants to live off-grid, I don't think that's okay.
I think it's really cool to think of like having a homestead and you're making your own growing your own vegetables. I'm making vegetables.
I'm making my own vegetables.
I think it's a really cool idea. I watch, what is it? There's like a homestead show that's on like Discovery or one of those channels. And I watch it and I think like that's really cool. Like I would love to be able to be one of those people. But I don't actually think I could actually execute it and follow through with it. I just don't think I would be okay with it.
Especially without you can't work. Like a homestead is like a full-time job.
It's a full-time job.
Yeah. So
This is their full-time gig. It's just making
surviving.
It. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Which, Kathy.
No, I'm not okay with that. I'm not okay with it.
So,
Call me high maintenance, whatever. I'm okay with that.
Quick disclaimer. Most of the story takes place just over the Maine border in southern Canada, but it does connect to Maine, which is in New England, so it counts because Kathy did a story in New York, and this is our podcast. We make up the rules as we go, right?
Heck yeah.
So on a cold winter night in January of 1922, in Caledina Mills, Canada, just over the Maine border, a nasty, bitter storm was closing in. The wind was really starting to howl. The snowflakes were steadily increasing and growing larger. A true winter chill was in the air. Alexander McDonald, the hero of our story, was stalking the fire one last time before he retired to bed for the night. His wife, Janet, and the 15-year-old adopted daughter, Mary Ellen, had already gone to bed for the night. The McDonald's home was well off the beaten path, even for the 1920 standards. It was about 30 miles northwest of Van Buren, Maine. So, like we say in New England, in the middle of nowhere. The McDonald family was about a 20-minute walk to the closest neighbor. In the snowy winter, with unkept roads, the same walk took at least 40 minutes.
That's wild. 20-minute walk to your closest neighbor.
Yeah.
It's like Allenstown.
Almost.
You can see your neighbor.
It doesn't matter. It felt like forever.
So their homestead was tucked in on the edge of a great expanse of forest with a modest barn. They raised livestock and had a small garden. The house did not have electricity or running water or telephone lines.
And they willingly lived there?
They willingly lived there. Oil-burning lamps lit the home against the oppressive dark of the long winter nights. The modest home had a large wood stove in the kitchen and a smaller wood stove in the living room that kept the family warm. The wood stove was more than a nicety. It was literally a necessity. Warmth, cooking, melting snow for water in the winter all revolved around the wood stove. Alexander, after stalking the fire one last time, assuring the warmth would last till morning, retired to bed. About 4 a.m., Janet, his wife, woke him up. She smelled smoke coming from the kitchen. Alexander jumped out of bed and ran to the kitchen. Alexander could not smell smoke, and the fire was down to just glowing orange amber safely piled in the wood stove. Upon further inspection, the ceiling beam just above the wood stove was charred and still smoking. Alexander grabbed a bucket of snow from just outside the front door and doused the remaining embers. Now, 4 a.m., wiping the sleep from his eyes, he decided he would start his day early by breaking down and cleaning the stovepipes of the wood stove. Alexander understood that creosote buildup in his stovepipes could be the fiery end of his homestead and his family, and wood stove maintenance was nothing to delay or take lightly in off-grid living. After carefully cleaning the pipes and reconnecting them, Alexander built a small fire to make sure no smoke was escaping the seams. After a few minutes of careful inspection, satisfied with his work, he headed out to the barn to tend to the cows. The cleaning must have done the job because there was no other issues with the wood stove for the remainder of the day. So that night at 11 p.m., Janet woke up to the smell of smoke again. Alexander ran out into the kitchen to find flames escaping out of the pipes touching the ceiling.
The ones he just cleaned?
Yes. He again grabbed snow from outside and doused the fire. His anxiety racing, he decided to stay awake that night to monitor the fire. By morning light, his wife and daughter woke up to a bitterly cold house and were confused by the news from Alexander that he had to put out 4 more fires overnight.
Whoa, okay.
These fires seemed to come from a well-doused and wet wood stove. The fires were not only from the wood stove, but also started on the floor in the living room and then on a chair a full 6 feet away from the wood stove.
So some like spontaneous combustion type stuff going on?
What was causing the fires?
That is a great question. I hope to answer that by the end of this episode.
Okay.
Ooh, okay.
So these fires were easy enough to put out, but he could not sleep knowing these fires were starting at random throughout the house.
How could anyone
Yeah, I mean,
sleep?
if you think you're like spontaneously your house is going to catch on fire, how could you just be like, I'm just going to go take a nap?
Like, do rotations of the family. So
Yeah,
exactly.
He just stayed awake all night, worried about fires.
I do have to give kudos to the man who was like, I'm going to stay awake, not wake the wife.
Oh, this guy's a real man. Yeah, by the end of the story,
Kudos
it's like,
to
okay,
him.
he's a
Yeah,
man.
he clearly he built a barn and a house.
He's like, I'm not going to
Right.
wake the wife and the children. I'm going to take care of it myself.
and then go tend to the cows. Okay.
Serious respect.
Yeah. So the next day, after all these random fires, the McDonald family dedicated themselves to cleaning and inspecting the entire house, lifting up floorboards, removing ceiling boards, looking for spilled kerosene, dusting, and removing any flammable clutter. No immediate causes of the phantom fires were discovered, but they needed the warmth of the stove to get it through the night. And at this point, Alexander needed sleep. So they continued to clean, inspect, and remove anything they thought could be somehow connected to the random fire starting.
I love what they're doing. I totally get the point of like cleaning and everything, but like it was night when this was happening. Like if there was ashes coming from the pipes or something, you'd see it, right?
See it in the dark,
So,
right?
yeah.
And when did this happen? 1920s?
1922, yes. There was electricity, but they were living in a farm in Canada off the grid. So
I guess my point to asking was because they're using that for everything.
Yes.
It's not like just us modern day society having a fireplace.
no,
It's
that was used for cooking, for warmth.
for everything.
Yeah.
If they need to take a bath, they're heating the water.
Yeah, their whole world
revolves
revolves
around
in the
the
winter,
fire.
especially, yes.
Yeah.
So after a full day of cleaning, they retired to bed for some much needed rest. There would be none. At 10 p.m., Janet woke up to the smell of smoke again.
No.
Alexander flew out of the bed and frantically searched for the cause. He checked every inch of the house, but could not find any flames or smell any smoke. He cautiously chalked it up to a false alarm and tried to settle back into bed. An hour later, the family dog started barking, a desperate, alarming bark. Alexander rushed into the living room to find the dog barking at an upholstered chair, almost fully ablazed in flame.
What?
Thinking quickly, he grabbed the chair and threw it out of the house into a snowbank where it continued to burn.
That's where I took my green beans when I forgot that they were cooking.
I remember that.
What?
I forgot I was cooking green beans one night and
And all the water
and the
burrowed
fire
out.
alarm went off and I went into the kitchen and was like, oh shit, I was cooking green beans. And I took the pot that had the green beans and I threw them into the pile of snow.
This really elevated
It
the
really
story.
happened, yeah. It happened. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Now you're good.
No, that's staying in.
He spent the rest of the night anxiously awaiting for the sight of flames or the smell of smoke. That night brought no new fires, but it also brought no sleep that night either. So good news, the next 2 nights were drama and fire-free. The McDonalds had been through a few tense and still unexplained nights, and the family started to let the guard down and return to their normal chores and routines, almost feeling safe again in the house.
That's even weird.
That's where it happens.
That's when all hell broke loose.
Mhm.
Alexander was in the barn tending to the cows, and Janet and Mary Ellen were in the kitchen preparing food when one of the floorboards burst into flames.
What?
Yeah.
Wow.
Now, in the 1920s, in farm-style housing, the floorboards were oftentimes not nailed down, rather fitted together, as was the case in this house, so Janet was able to grab the board and threw it out into the snowbank next to the charred remains of the living room chair. She returned inside to find a ceiling board on fire. After screams of terror got Alexander's attention, he ran back from the barn into the house. He entered to find the wall just above the entrance on fire as well. As soon as he put out the 2 fires, another one started in a small second bedroom. After putting out that fire, the wallpaper in the living room caught ablaze.
No way.
Yeah.
Too much.
After extinguishing several fires that popped up seemingly at random all over the house, Alexander, not knowing what to do, walked with his wife and daughter the 40-minute hike in the deep snow to the neighbor's house to ask for help.
The only thing I can think of is is there some type of natural gas pit or something that's spewing fire?
That's what I was thinking.
Well, there's all kinds of interesting theories that I'll run by you guys.
Okay. All right. This is
All
nice.
right, we'll wait.
But
We'll wait.
no, hold that because that's a good theory. The neighbor, Duncan, who was Janet's brother and Alexander's brother-in-law, rushed back with the McDonalds to the house. Duncan spent the next 4 hours questioning Alexander and inspecting every inch of the house from top to bottom. No smoke, no fires, no unexplained heat coming from the walls. Nothing but unanswerable questions.
Imagine that interrogation. So Chris, you're telling me the chair caught on fire.
Just caught on fire, Sean.
And then the floor just caught on fire.
And the roof. And I'm sorry, this motherfucker walks in and is like, I don't see anything that's going on.
Yeah, I know, right? I'm
Suspicious.
trying to be polite, but I'm like, yeah, I don't see it. I don't understand. But
Okay, crazy family.
Right.
Yeah.
it's his brother-in-law, his sister, his niece are there, so he believes them. So Duncan offers the family to stay with him that night. Already cold and tired and getting dark, Alexander decided to stay awake and wanted the house instead. He didn't want to ask the girls to make the long trek back. Duncan, being a good neighbor and a good older brother, decided to stay with Alexander for the night. A couple of neighbors that Duncan had informed about these strange occurrences were on their way over to help out.
Jebediah, my buddy's house is catching on fire randomly. Come on, check it out.
Yeah, that's basically what was happening.
Yeah.
So Janet lit a small fire in the kitchen stove to heat up some tea. The family sat around the kitchen table discussing the strange occurrences and guessing as to their reasons. Nothing paranormal was discussed. However, the fire sprites of the old land must have come to mind for this Scottish immigrant family.
Ooh.
Oh, they're Scottish.
Yes. So as the family sat around the kitchen table discussing, the family dog started to growl. His hair stood up on his back and he got into a deep, menacing stance, staring into the living room. This is when things got really out of control. Coming through the dark living room into the kitchen was what they would later describe as a brilliant small blue orb of light.
What?
Slowly floating and growing up to fill the space around it. Duncan, who had worked as a lineman for the electrical company, described it as looking like when a transistor blew up on a high power line, but much brighter and moving really, really slowly towards the back of the house. So as they sat there and the orb grew, it also seemed to get brighter and it was setting everything in the house on fire.
What?
The already water-soaked couch caught on fire, the wallpaper caught on fire, the linen. The orb moved into the 2 bedrooms, and as soon as it did, the bedding was aflame. The family jumped into action, putting out small fires in every room of the house. They were easy enough to put out, but with the orb and the sudden fires, everybody was on edge. The 2 other neighbors who were coming over to help saw the flames coming from the roof and ran into the house to help. When it was all said and done, the small group of now 6 people reported they put out 38 separate fires throughout the entire house.
Dang.
And how big is this house?
It's a very small farmhouse.
Yeah, and 38
38 separate fires.
That's intense.
You have 6 people running around putting out fires for like a couple of hours.
You just imagine you're following this blue orb of light and it just keeps catching shit on fire. And you're like, God dang it, you blue orb of light, stop. You're just yelling at it, watching it.
I'm just envisioning like this blue orb coming through like a doorway, and as it's like coming through, it's like, oof.
Yeah, it's just catching everything on fire.
If they were in America, they would have shot at it already.
I mean, that is what we do.
Get the guns, another blue orb.
Our listeners know what I think about that.
So upon investigation, one of the neighbors found several half-burnt pieces of cotton. Pieces of cotton that probably shouldn't have been there after the rigorous cleaning the family had done just 3 days prior.
Cotton not burnt, just
no, it was
pure
half-burnt.
white cotton.
No, it's half burnt. Almost like it was being used to start fires, but they have no idea where the cotton came from.
How could the cotton be used to start the fire?
Well,
Wouldn't
it's
that
an accelerator.
completely
Take
burn
fire,
the fire?
you
Yeah,
put the
like
cotton.
kindling.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know,
Yeah.
but like when you use kindling, it usually 100% burnt because that's the starting point.
But like then you douse it with water to put it out or something like that.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
That's
It's a
half
weird
burnt.
detail.
No, that just
right?
that's just weird to me. I'm gonna make note.
So at this point, the McDonald family, nerves fried, anxiety skyrocketing, gathered up what they could and made the long, cold walk by moonlight back to Duncan's house. They could no longer stay at their home. They decided in the spring they would build a new house closer to the main road. So over the next few weeks, Alexander walked the long haul back to the homestead to tend to the cows and the chickens daily. Every time he turned the corner approaching his home, he expected to find in a pile of smoldering rubble. However, the house remained intact. It seemed as soon as they moved out, the mysterious fires stopped. So on January 6th, Harold Witten from the Halifax newspaper stopped in on the family to investigate the fires and see if there was a story worth writing.
You guys, the ones with the blue orbs? You got the blue orbs burning your house down in here?
So it's a small local community, and word got around, and he's like, there might be a story here worth writing. So he interviewed the family and the neighbors, and he made his way to the now abandoned home. He wrote of his findings. He found a small, pitiful house, a burnt chair, and a floorboard in a snowbank outside. When he walked into the house, he found a very open and simple floor plan. Scorch marks on the ceiling, a partially burnt couch, dark marks and charring on the floor and the walls. He wrote he could not see how anybody could have started these fires in the plain view of the family given the open and simple layout of the house.
Okay, so he's basically saying no shot someone's fucking with him. So Harold opened his article with this. I wrote the facts as given to me. The story is so strange, so unexplainable, and my position is so untetherable that it took great care not to exaggerate or stray from the story as told. All I can do at this point is write with caution and care of what I saw and what I was told. So this article started a cascade of curiosity, speculation, and theories. Experts and religious folk alike wrote into the newspaper explaining the natural and supernatural causes of these phantom fires. Naturally occurring phosphorus or methane from the cows were cited. Spontaneous combustion was blamed. Illegal home distillery distilled alcohol that was common in the area was floated as a cause several times. One reader claimed that the area had naturally occurring veins of coal underground, and if this caught fire, it could have explained the home randomly catching fire.
Did we have coal mines in Maine?
I don't know if there were coal mines in the area, but there could be naturally occurring veins of coal. And if that caught fire, that could give off a lot of heat.
It says Nova Scotia, while coal use is declining, mines like Duncan have operated for power generation and other uses for years. So there's at least one, but yes.
Also, old world fire sprites or ghosts were invoked. One reader suggested vampires. The devil himself was blamed by several readers to explain these unexplainable fires.
I think we should always blame vampires.
Yeah, they all make sense except for the vampires. So vampires, you know.
Yeah, I mean, right up till vampires.
Vampires.
So the newspaper article was so popular, Harold did a follow-up with the family. As it turns out, half the story happened before the first fires were ever witnessed. In his next article, he chronicles several strange occurrences at the property. So in March of 1921, the previous winter, before the miraculous fires, Alexander's cows had escaped their stanchions that refined them to the barn, a tricky feat for the cleverest of cows. Alexander rebuilt the stanchions, but later that day found the cows loose again. He adjusted the stanchions again just to find the cows loose again the next morning. This pattern of escaping and rebuilding stanchions continued for an entire month before the cows would stay put.
Maybe this guy's just not the best handyman. Maybe he's just not really good at building houses or stanchions for cows. I don't know.
Another strange tale is from a neighbor who was cutting hay in a field down the road from the farmhouse the previous fall. He reports he saw the top of the McDonald's barn ablaze with fire. He rushed down the hill and through the gully to help. Losing sight of the barn while he was in the gully, he emerged on the other side, but now the fire was out. He chalked it up as the setting sun behind the barn playing tricks on his eyes.
Oh, come on.
And he never reported it until Harold interviewed him for the story. So another strange occurrence.
Can you mistake the sunlight as fire?
I think I could see that.
Yeah?
But mistaking it enough to run down to the farmhouse, it's a strange story.
It is.
So another strange occurrence Harold included in his article came from the McDonald's son-in-law, William Quirk. William, who had married the McDonald's older daughter, Mary, reports he was walking the long, desolate road to the property when he saw a riderless horse running towards the main road at a high rate of speed. Now, this was strange enough, but when he approached the home, he saw a woman's arm waving a cotton rag out the window. The problem with this was the McDonald's were not home yet. William went inside and with a quick search of the house, did not find a woman or a cotton rag.
That is so weird. And it's weird that the timing of these stories are only coming out because they're writing the article and stuff.
Yeah.
So like that gives me a little suspect, but
right.
Cotton rag.
They're definitely looking to add to this story.
Yeah.
At the same time, maybe all this strange stuff happened and nobody was around to mention it. So William, who had grown up with tales of sprites and fairies from the old country, believed that the house was actually cursed. Now, the editor of the local paper knew a good story when he heard one and urged Harold to continue to interview and dig into the story and encourage readers to write in with their explanations of these strange events. The story got picked up by several other papers in the area as well. Harold enlisted Peachin Carroll, a retired police chief from the area. They decided to spend a week at the now abandoned house to get to the bottom of this mystery. Now, Officer Carroll was a no-nonsense man. He was determined to find a very real and natural cause for these strange events. They brought supplies for a week-long investigation, including their own portable wood stove, as not to start any fires in the possibly flawed existing wood stove. All was quiet for the first few days. But on the third night, at the McDonald's home, Harold was startled by footsteps in the next room. He looked at Officer Carroll sitting across from him, who pressed his finger to his lips in the universal stay quiet gesture. They both listened to the footsteps crossing the living room towards the kitchen. Officer Carroll moved his gun from the table into his lap, both poised to catch the intruder. The footsteps stopped just out of sight of the dimly lit oil lamp that sat on the table between them. Officer Carroll, without fear, quickly and quietly sprung out of his chair to catch the intruder. Gun drawn, he stepped into the entirely empty room. When nobody was standing there, his righteousness quickly became unadulterated fear. The next day, in the early morning light, they both decided to end the investigation a few days early.
Whoa, just scared shitless.
Yes, here's this badass cop, and he's like, no, we're leaving. Now, Harold ended his latest article about his and Officer Carroll's experiences at the McDonald house with a promise of $200 to anyone who could prove there was a rational explanation for these events.
I love that.
At this point, Harold's article was being published in papers all over Canada, the United States, even Britain, and the reward would definitely keep the momentum going.
I love the idea of this, like, big, strong man being like, you think there's vampires in there? I'm going to go figure this all out.
I'm going to bring my gun.
And like, no, I'm out. I'm not going back there. That's scary. I'm done. I'm done. I'm not heard footsteps. I'm out.
All right, we're leaving early.
Yeah. Ooh.
Okay, as a New England-based podcast, this story takes place mostly in Canada, but here's the tie-in to New England. It's weak, but it's here. So, Dr. Franklin Prince, a preacher from Maine Wesleyan Seminary and a student of everything paranormal and psychological, read the accounts from Harold's articles and decided he was going to intervene and collect the $200. Dr. Prince was a believer in the supernatural, but he also had a reputation for investigating and disproving false or misinterpreted supernatural events. He had made the news several times already for exposing false mediums and magicians.
These are first ghost hunters.
Yes. He was going to put an end to these stories and prove one way or the other that it was paranormal or was not. Now, Dr. Prince was a Christian and truly believed in religious-based paranormal events. Angels and demons were real. However, he was of the mind that non-biblical paranormal events were all tricks and scams.
How do you know the difference, though?
Well, Dr. Prince does.
Okay.
There's some irony there, but I'm going to leave it. I'm going to leave it alone.
I was gonna call it out.
Yeah. I'm going to destroy Dr. Prince as a psychotherapist at the end here. So
Okay.
So Dr. Prince traveled to Canada early that spring. He interviewed the witnesses, neighbors, and members of the McDonald family. He combed through all the public records he could find regarding the property and the family's history. He even persuaded Mary Ellen, the McDonald's 15-year-old adopted daughter, to travel back to the house with him to recount the events and show him the property.
That's not weird.
Yeah, that's...
no, I don't want Mr. McDonald or Mrs. McDonald. I want 15-year-old.
15-year-old.
Well, that's going to make sense.
I want the child.
That's going to make sense in a minute. 11 days later, Dr. Prince traveled back home and wrote his final report that was published in the American Journal of Psychiatric Research. He reported the psychological trauma of Mary Ellen from being adopted was too much for her to bear. This caused her to subconsciously create alter egos or split personality disorder to deal with the emotional pain.
It's her fault.
Now, of course, Mary Ellen did not remember any of this because it was an alter ego that committed these acts.
Because it didn't exist.
But Dr. Prince unequivocally proclaimed Mary Ellen's alter ego was the one starting the fires and released the cows, and the case was shut.
I don't think it's as wild as you think it is. I think, like, I could see, yes, okay, of course, it's the woman. Like, I get it. I get it.
It's the 15-year-old's fault.
If someone does go through some trauma, I don't know, maybe there could be something there. I don't know.
Absolutely. People go through trauma, and that impacts their reaction or their choices and how they handle
become
situations.
A little devilish, maybe.
It's also not going to cause things to come.
Yeah, the blue orb of light. I can't explain.
All right,
Thank you.
We'll get into that. So the article ran the next day in the paper with Dr. Prince's conclusion. This seemed to end the ongoing debate. People seemed to believe this theory. Dr. Prince also added, for good measure, that he refused the $200 reward because science was to be done for science's sake, and he did not want to be influenced by the temptation of the reward in his scientific pursuit. This was the last article that Harold wrote about these events. But this makes no sense. Dr. Prince was the only one who knew that Mary Ellen was having dissociative periods and had several different personas, one being an arsonist. This doesn't explain the footsteps that Harold and Dr. Carroll heard that drove them from their investigation. It doesn't explain the strange woman waving a cotton rag out the window seen by the son-in-law. It doesn't explain the neighbor working in the field who saw the barn on fire. Then as he got closer, the barn wasn't on fire. And by the way, there were 5 adults who were all in this very small house when 38 separate fires started. How in the world did Mary Ellen's alter ego pull that off? This story might very well have a reasonable answer, but for me, this is not it. Now, because our fans are amazing and they deserve it, I went the extra mile. I've got a friend who is a retired firefighter, so I ran the story by him to see what he thought. He reported, the natural occurring coal veins in the ground was an interesting theory. He goes on to say, if veins of coal caught fire, it could produce enough heat and heat rises that it could catch the house on fire in random places. He reports, depending on the amount of coal and the access to oxygen underground, the coal fires can travel very quickly and are very difficult to put out. However, if this was the case, you would expect all of the fires to start on the ground closest to the heat source, then work their way up the walls and not start on the ceiling, as indicated in the story. He would also expect the fires not to be isolated to just the house and would start anywhere there was access to combustible materials, such as in the barn. So he said he's out on that one. He also liked the alcohol distillery theory. He reports distilling alcohol creates a highly flammable gas and does burn blue, like the orb they described. However, he reports the blue flame would not slowly creep across the room or grow. It would just burn with a blue flame until the gas ran out. He adds if the gas is not properly vented, it can build up inside the still and cause an explosion. But this would result in an explosion. Again, not with a slow-moving orb. Also, because heat rises, he would expect the fire to start on the ceiling, above the still, and not on the floor as described in several of the fires. So after reading the story and considering all the evidence, with his years of training and expertise, his best guess was, it's probably a witch, bro. So if you're listening, thank you for your insight, brother.
15-year-old.
So with all of this laid out, with everything that we've known so far, I want to know, what are your guys' final takes? What do you think's going on here?
I'm with the firefighter. It's a witch bra.
It's a witch bra.
It's a witch bra. I honestly don't know. The blue orb to me is like so unexplainable. I was thinking natural gas pits. If it was that, they could burn blue, but not a small orb moving throughout. And again, I'd expect that the whole house would burn down. It would just be like these random, the ceiling, oh, the chair, oh, the random spot on the board, oh, this one floorboard. Like, I don't know. It's nuts. I don't know. I'm really leaning paranormal because I have no other logical explanation for this.
The only other logical explanation for me is hoax. Now, this family lost their house and they gained absolutely nothing. Not only that, there were 6 adults in the house claiming they put out random fires. So all of them were in on this hoax?
Yeah, I know you ruled out this little girl, just fucking with them a little bit, but maybe.
That's an interesting...
Maybe. If we're going for logical answers, that's the only logical thing that makes sense.
My question is, how did this little girl start 38 separate fires in a small house with 5 adults running around putting them out?
They could be like a slow burner.
That's
right?
true, but again, it's a very small house, and you got 6 adults sitting there.
They found cotton that was half burned.
Right.
So then I'm thinking, does this little girl have some half burned cotton? Starts one fire, panic ensues, everyone's attention's on the fire or putting that out.
Yeah, and
she's on the other side of the building doing something off onto the side.
That's what I'm thinking.
Again, so Chris is 38 times one night? How do you get away with that 38 times?
I mean, have you ever started a fire? It takes some work and effort to get fires started, especially on a couch that's already been soaked because it was on fire earlier.
Well, I haven't, but I'm thinking that cotton would be pretty easy to ignite.
And I imagine matches probably existed at this point.
Yeah, matches existed.
But I'm thinking if you have an amber, it's like if you flick a cigarette out the window, right? It's one tiny amber, it sits and then it ignites. So maybe they're putting it out in one spot, but there's still an amber burning somewhere else that they don't know about, and that ignites into something more.
And they have oil candles, we stated inside the story,
and
too.
everything is flammable because they also had what was it, horsehair
plaster?
Yeah, and they had
maybe.
In their walls for insulation. So things were a lot more combustible back then.
It's definitely strange. One theory that I did not put in there and I read into, but it was too strange, but I think I'll just add it here now. Dr. Prince, later on in his life, wrote a book called The Psychic in the House. And he had an adopted daughter as well. And his adopted daughter, he claimed, because of the adoption, had a split personality disorder. And one of the personalities, one of the alter egos, was actually a psychic. So Dr. Prince, later on in life, claims that maybe Mary Ellen, one of her alter egos, had paranormal abilities and could start fires with their mind. So just to throw that out there, that's...
Clearly this story stuck with him for a long time.
Yeah,
like
he's bringing it up in a book a decade later.
I hate to throw this out as a theory, too. We think of all the stories we heard about this time period, like the Gloakis, where newspapers are making up stories, and then people are flocking to it, adding to the story, and adding details in there that aren't really real. I start to think, could this has just been some type of, like, propaganda or something like that to try to sell more newspapers again?
I think there's absolutely some of that in there, right? Yeah. Where they've sensationalized it, and they went digging and maybe even stretched the truth.
Or just like a tragic true story that they just elaborated.
Yeah, but again, how did 38 fires start with 5 adults running around putting it out?
I still think
that's just very strange.
I still think the 38 random fires, I still think that there could be like an underlining amber that could just be laying there.
Over and over again, though?
Like, no, not like the same spot over and over again. But I do think that, like, when you're putting out a fire, there could be an underlining amber that's sitting there. And then, like, once everything settles, it's like, it's burning. And then it just, like, and it catches. I do think that's a reality. I do think that that is something that could happen.
And part of me thinks, well, 1920s farmers, they were very simple, superstitious. But I mean, here are some very capable people. They were able to live off-grid in southern Canada during the very cold winters. These were some very knowledgeable and capable people. If they weren't taking care of their wood stove correctly, they would have died a long time ago.
Yeah. Well, Chris, is there any more? Do we have any more details? Is this where this wraps?
This is where it wraps. It's kind of a mystery still. If you put a gun to my head, I'd say it's a tragic story where somebody's house almost burnt down and the newspaper just went wild with it.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you believe in any of what McDonald's reported, I'm leaning towards paranormal.
I have no logical explanation either. So it's either split personality, pyro daughter, or paranormal. That's where I'm at. It's got to be one of those two things.
Yeah.
Because all the other logical answers that I can come up with don't make sense. I say, let's make a pact right now. If we die and we go to heaven and Jesus lets us ask one question, this one's it. What happened in that house? It's been bugging me. What happened in that house?
You know what I'm talking about, Jesus.
Sean, you're sweet. You think I'm going to heaven.
Fair.
That's fair. That's fair. All right, Chris. Well, thanks so much for that story. That was absolutely intriguing.
Yeah, I like it.
It was a slow burn show.
Oh, it sure was. It sure was.
Slow burn.
And gang, we hope that you enjoyed it as well. If you did, be sure to check out our Instagram. That is at Weirder After Dark, where Chris will be going ahead and we'll be posting some fire images to support this story.
Fire sprites.
That's right. That's right. And it's not just Instagram. We are out here building community. That means that you can go to Reddit, you can go to Instagram, you can go to Facebook. Again, that is at Weirder After Dark. And you can interact with not just us, but other listeners who are enjoying these episodes just like you. And we are always on the lookout for your weird New England stories. Have you seen any fire sprites getting a little freaky and lighting shit on fire? Have you seen some blue orbs just going room to room to room, causing some havoc? If you have, we want to hear those stories, and you can send them to the gang at weirderafterdark.com. And it doesn't have to be fire sprites. You got aliens, you got ghosts, you got weird shit. You seen a homeless man steal something from you. We want to hear that story. Send it to us. And if you're loving this shit, if you are absolutely adoring this shit, the best thing that you can do for us is go ahead and leave a 5-star review wherever it is that you are listening. And please don't forget, it always gets a little weirder after dark.
Bye, guys.
Thank you.